Welcome to the MLB Coast to Coast podcast, brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by my guys, both Nate Weitzer back from vacation on the East Coast, and we have Mo Nawara, as always, in the Midwest with us. And we are looking at a Tuesday slate here full of evening time games for us to choose from. We are going to be bringing you some best bets here in just a moment. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Got plenty of great written content on there for you guys all summer long. Also have our great odds checker tool on there so you can make sure that you are shopping those lines to the best of your ability, getting all that juice back in the MLB tonight. And as always, if you do still need a FanDuel or DraftKings account, head to fdpicks.com or dkpicks.com. Find those listings in your area, such as what we've got for tonight, kicking things off with the Marlins. Braxton Garrett in Philadelphia taking on Zach Wheeler and the Phils, minus 240 for the Phils at home. Alek Manoah and the Blue Jays in a game we are going to touch on against the Orioles in Baltimore. Kyle Bradish on the mound, minus 155 for the Blue Jays there. Cincinnati and Mike Minor is on the mound in New York, taking on Carlos Carrasco and those Mets, huge favorites for the Metropolitans, minus 320 there. The Bravos and Charlie Morton are in Boston, taking on Rich Hill, minus 155 for the visiting Braves. Touch on that one as well. Shane Bieber and the Guardians, minus 190 in Detroit, taking on Tyler Alexander and the Tigers. The Nats and Paolo Espino are in Chicago, taking on the Cubs. Marcus Stroman, minus 200 for Stroman and the Cubs. The Rangers and the GOAT Martin Perez are in Houston, taking on Jose Urquidy, minus 180 for the Stros at home there. The Rays and Jimmy Yacabonis are in Milwaukee, taking on Freddie Peralta and the Brewers, minus 165 for the Brew Crew. Miles Mikolas and the Cardinals are in Colorado. Ryan Fellner on the mound for the Rockies, minus 170 for the visiting Cardinals there. Alex Cobb and the Giants visiting the Padres in San Diego. Joe Musgrove, minus 170 on the hill. Shohei Ohtani and the Angels are in Oakland, taking on James Kaprielian. Does seem like these teams play each other pretty much every night at this point. Minus 180 for the visiting Angels there with the stud Ohtani on the mound. Zach Thompson and the Pirates in Arizona. Tommy Henry on the mound for the Diamondbacks, minus 155 for the D-backs at home. And then we've got the Yankees and Garrett Cole in Seattle against Luis Castillo, minus 130 for the Yanks on the road. Touch on that one as well. And the last game of the night, Joe Ryan and the Twins are in LA taking on the Doyers. Julio Urias, minus 215. But I'm going to start things off with that Yankees game, Nate, and toss to you and tell me why you do or do not like Garrett Cole here on the mound against Luis Castillo and those Mariners.
Well, I guess I've just been away so long that I remember the Yankees being an absolute juggernaut. I understand they've been struggling since the All-Star break, even a little bit before that, but the winds are changing. It seems Aaron Judge sparked them to a win last night. I think they start to get rolling here a little bit. I think actually, despite this strength of both starting pitchers, I like over 7 runs. Pretty low when you look at the strength of these offenses. I know, again, the Yankees are missing some guys and haven't been the same powerhouse over the last couple of weeks with Rizzo, Carpenter, Stanton out. Rizzo has, I guess, a chance to play, but they still put up 9 runs in consecutive games here. And Luis Castillo now making his second start for the Mariners, third start against the Yankees in the last month. I think that generally plays into the favor of an offense. He's got some electric stuff, but he's still, you look at some of the peripherals, it's a career low ground ball rate, a career high line drive rate, also the lowest swinging strike rate of his career. You can chalk some of that up to, being on the Reds, not giving expecting to be traded at some point. And, then he gets swapped to a contending team like the Mariners, but a little bit of nerves in his first start in terms of the exit velocity. Again, a very low ground ball rate against these Yankees. That's going to spell some trouble. And Garrett Cole, we just can't necessarily figure out why he's not pitching up to his standards. I mean, he's posting some of the best peripherals since he became a Yankee. His fastball still 98, grades very well. But at the same time, there's just something missing that I wouldn't be surprised if he gives up a crooked number or two. The over has hit in 4 straight between these teams. It's averaged about 10 runs per game. The Mariners are very over heavy. In fact, they've gone over in 7 of their last 8 games altogether. So I think 7 runs, definitely like attacking that at even money at FanDuel or just taking the Yankees because I do lean towards Cole when I look at these two starters. I think, just some of the numbers that he's putting up a little more sustainable, a little more impressive than Luis Castillo, who's still in a new situation.
Well, I got to say, the Yankees are getting a little thin on the bats. I think Anthony Rizzo might sit again. I'm not sure there, but Matt Carpenter broke his foot. Imagine saying 2 months ago that Matt Carpenter being injured mattered, but here we are when Stanton's already out. I'm thinking somebody like Tim Locastro or Marwin Gonzalez is going to end up starting today. So that's obviously not ideal. I still think the Yankees do have a better lineup and a better pitcher here, but it's not by a lot. Luis Castillo's been amazing, especially for recently. Two things have happened. He's throwing his fastball harder. His velocity definitely been trending up. He was like sitting sub 96 early in the season. He's up around 98, even though he did have a dip in the last start before this most recent one, but he was back up to 98 after that. So probably just a fluke. Yeah, just he also started throwing his fastball a ton more, and he has a FIP of 3, ERA of 2, and then a 2.86 xFIP since he did that. So it's 6 starts only, but man, 2 of them against Yankees and 1 against Braves. So I think this line's fair, and I do understand why somebody might like the over, but with these 2 bullpens and these pitchers, I think it's probably a reasonable number.
Yeah, I mean, it's a low number for sure, but I mean, either way, it's just fun that we have a Mariners Yankees somewhat rivalry back that matters for something. I kind of enjoy that either way. But let's move things on here to the Pirates and a game that we did talk about yesterday in this Diamondback series, as the Pirates did try to throw Tyler Beede out there and their sort of platoon of arms. Didn't really seem to, obviously didn't work, didn't really seem to affect them, but now we've got a couple of different pitchers on the mound. And Tommy Henry is not somebody that we would necessarily feel very comfortable backing at minus 155. Sort of taking the opposite there in terms of the Pirates and Zach Thompson being on the mound for the Pirates. Hasn't been great himself, but probably a few numbers that indicate he's been a little bit better than those stats. So Mo, tell us why it is that we should look at the Pirates here, plus 135 for a second night in a row.
Yeah, are we sure it didn't work? They only allowed 1 run
That's
until
fair.
the 9th.
Fair.
It was the offense's fault. I think plus 200 was a good
Well,
bet
I
yesterday.
would
Plus
take it,
210 actually.
but yeah,
But
obviously some things went wrong at the very, very end there.
yeah, the pen ended up allowing a couple late runs, but yeah, it was 1-0 most of the way. I think the Pirates are another value play again today. I do think even though the prospect watchers liked something Tommy Henry more than Zach Thompson, I do think right now Zach Thompson is probably a better pitcher. I know that some of his numbers stink, but he does have some reasonable numbers as well. 4.76 Sierra, 4.49 xFIP. These are fine compared to what he's up against here. And yeah, he does have a league average chase rate, so he's able to get some swings and misses there. Tommy Henry just doesn't even look like a major league pitcher to me. 5.17 xFIP in AAA this year, 100 innings. That's pretty bad. He's basically looks like his pitch mix makes him look like a left-handed reliever. I mean, he's throwing 61% fastballs. Usually you need to be like Garrett Cole fastball to get away with that. Nowadays, especially. And yeah, I mean, even the Pirates' god awful offense. I mean, their pitch value versus fastballs is like minus 0.3. So, I mean, for context, that would be like in the middle of the pack against most pitches. So, it's just basically that any major league hitter can hit a fastball pretty much. So, when you're throwing that many fastballs, it's just not you're making it easy on the other team basically. So I also like that even though they did throw a bullpen game, the Pirates didn't really wear out their decent pen arms yesterday. They kind of used their depth and long relief pieces. I had this one more like minus 120 on the Diamondbacks, so it's not like a spot I'm super excited about, but I think plus 135 is pretty good. I got plus 139. I'd play this one to plus 130.
Well, let's move on to a slightly more interesting game then. We've got the Blue Jays in Baltimore. As we said, minus 162, Alek Manoah on the mound. Still a very good season so far for Manoah as he's pulling forward. So kick us off here in this one, Nate, and tell us what it is that we're looking at in this Baltimore-Toronto matchup in Baltimore.
Looking at the young Jays, sort of like they did last season, finishing strong and charging hard, maybe even to try to catch the Yankees, but I mean, at least get one of those wild card spots. And the Orioles, I mean, yeah, shocked to see how much they've sustained their success here while I've been gone, but I don't think this is a night to back them at all with Kyle Bradish on the mound. 12 major league starts now, 21% home run to fly ball ratio, 3.4 walks per nine. His fastball grades negative 11.5. And to Mo's point, I mean, when you throw a fastball that much that doesn't have much movement on it, you're going to get crushed. Especially against the AL East. He's now had 6 starts against those division foes. He's 0-4 with a 9.7 ERA. And that includes getting rocked by Toronto once. Toronto being maybe the best offense in baseball at this point. I mean, they lead league in average, lead the majors in, or they're third in OPS at this point, and bounce back pretty readily. 30-18 after a loss. They lost to those last night. So 15-7 since July 12th. And only 3 of those losses are against teams below 500, which brings us to, Alek Manoah, who's just, the most reliable arm they can throw out there. Basically, just a walk-in quality start. He's had a couple blips up to 400 runs lately, but when he's faced Baltimore, last 3 career starts, 1 earned over those, and 23 Ks and just 6 hits. And now the O's don't have Trey Mancini either, so just becoming a less dangerous matchup for him. At minus 160, I still think the Blue Jays closer to a sure thing with this pitching matchup we got here.
Yeah, there was even actually a couple minus 155s on the board I'm looking at right now. I would lean toward the Jays here. I have minus 155 as like a little bit underpriced, but not enough value for a bet. Manoah's been really good, and like you said, he's so consistent. It's pretty amazing. I just feel like he is just a machine. Goes out, does the same thing every time. And facing no Trey Mancini lineup here, it should be a pretty good spot for him. I think the other pitcher is a little more interesting in this game, Bradish or Bradish. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but XFIP and Sierra absolutely love him. They think he's like better or like right around league average pitcher. And those tend to be the most predictive stats. But the results have been atrocious. And StatCast does think he's earned some of his atrocious results. I think they had him with like a 5.5 xERA. There's also some like weird tracking with his fastball. Pitch Info thinks he's throwing a cutter. Baseball Savant has him with a 4-seamer. Either way, Toronto hits these pitches very well, and they're very, very good against sliders. I think they were second against sliders when I looked into this earlier. It just doesn't look like when I was looking at his pitch movement, it doesn't look like there's really any deception in his like movement profiles at all. So I just feel like maybe he does earn some of his hard contact. On the other hand, the Jays are missing George Springer, and I still think the O's might have a better bullpen here, even without Jorge Lopez. I'm not sure about that one. It's probably pretty close. But, yeah, I'm leaning towards Jays. It's just not enough for me to bet it. But if I had to pick a side on this one, this is if I had to pick probably my next bet that I would make, even though I'm not making one probably on this game. But of all the games, I would lean more toward the Jays here than any of my other that I thought was like pretty close to neutral.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think, interestingly enough, too, I would consider an under. I think Bradish has been a little bit more interesting. I mean, that BABIP is massive at 380. I believe it's like top 5, lowest, however you want to look at it. He's just getting rocked and not really getting any help. Manoah as well. You can sort of find some edges, I think, in terms of the his numbers against righties as well, just completely shutting them down entirely at this point. Basically, a top 3 pitcher in the league against right-handed pitching in pretty much every stat that matters. So I do still see a little bit of that value on Toronto, even though obviously some of that juice has been sapped from that game as well. But let's finish things off here, Mo, or not Mo, actually. Let's go to Nate in celebration of you being back. We will talk about those Sox and Rich Hill on the mound against Charlie Morton and Mo's Braves, who are, falling a little bit behind on those Mets, who remain hot. We'll see how that goes. Continue to follow. But Nate, kick us off here. Minus 155 for the Bravos in Boston. So what is it that you're looking at in this one?
Yeah, I am taking Mo's Braves here, not the Sox, who have been also pretty terrible since July. Started 11-23, and such a high K rate, the highest in the AL during that span, that I would rather use the player performance doubles you can get here for Charlie Morton. Get him 6+ Ks in a win for the Braves. He doesn't have to get the win, but plus 160 or plus 260 if you go up to 7Ks in his last 11 starts. Now he's averaging nearly 9 strikeouts. I mean, Mo will say he's an enigma, but I think he's a veteran who had that traumatic injury to end last season, started kind of slow, and in the second half has been really settling in. Is line drive rate, hard contact rate way down, no home runs allowed since the break, 183 batting average against, and in high leverage situations, his ground ball rate nearly 60%. Just showing what you want from a veteran, which is to step up and make the pitches he needs to get out of trouble. And yeah, the Red Sox offense, inconsistent, boom bust. But really, what I'm targeting is their poor pitching at this point, which is the last time they started a homestand, they gave up a franchise record 28 runs. Rich Hill on the mound here, who has been dreadful at Fenway. We've talked about before. 6.5 ERA at home because he's a lefty that doesn't miss bats and doesn't throw hard and is not getting anyone to chase. And that's really how you get this Braves lineup out, right? Is getting them, using their aggressiveness against them. It doesn't really seem like a good matchup for him for sure because the Braves have the best OPS against lefties in the National League. I think they could definitely jump out to an early lead here. And Morton does enough to have them hold on.
Yeah, the Braves have smacked lefties all year. I think whenever I look at Rich Hill, I'm looking at how you hit the curveball. The Braves are below the fold against the curveball. They're 19th. So that counts against them, I think, here. I still think Boston has a pretty good lineup, so this should still be competitive. I had this line as exactly fair, but you're definitely right that Charlie Morton has been really, really great for basically 2 months. Ever since, I don't know what was going on early in the season, but it seems like he's cleaned it up and he's been great. And I think this line is about fair, but I could see why somebody would like the Braves here because Rich Hill is just okay, and the Braves do hit lefties pretty hard.
Yeah, and those poor splits at home for him too. So going to be a good game either way as things are folding in both of those East divisions in AL and NL. So that is all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to follow along with us as we are bringing you these videos each and every weekday of this regular season. So until we see you next, happy betting.